a question could arise if from the Advaitic, that is the non-dualistic position, we see that there's only one existence, then what is the difference between worshipping God in the pop star, if he's raising money for charity, and worshipping a Jesus or a Mary or Ramakrishna? So that's the purport of a question asked earlier. So we have to make sure that we don't make a confusion. And the question was also phrased. Very often from time to time, I have said that what we see as a universe is nothing more than seemingly fragmented God. But you see, seemingly, it only looks like that. The non-dualistic version of things has to put language like that, and it seems to be. It's not actually, it just seems to be. It seems to be like that. When we had a session, question answers and studying non-dualism in Kilkenny recently, somebody made the remark from a non-dualistic position, we have to dismiss Maya. I said, why? Why should we dismiss Maya? How will you dismiss Maya? Thinking about it, and since the season is also a season of Durga Puja, you may well have asked if you have a picture, because this was a Hindu, if you have some picture of, say, Mother Durga, or let's say in Christianity, say a picture of Mary, and from a non-dualistic point of view, it seems that you could easily tear these pictures up and discard them, because both of them represent this aspect of Maya. One of my first conversations with my own guru, he pointed out that the Mary of Christianity, who I personally had loved since childhood, is really the same as the universal mother, the cosmic mother, God in the form of mother. I never questioned it because he's my guru and he most well revered, and he obviously knew what he was talking about, but I knew it flew in the face of Christian theology. Christian theology would not agree, despite the fact that they may deny it. That's how it is. Now, if you look in the Catholic Church and you see how many Marian movements there are and adherents to this Marian movement, Lourdes, for example, Knock in Ireland, and various other places, you see there's a very, very strong Marian movement that wants to view this God as a mother, and there's every reason for it. What pure embodiment of love could there be? There's a very reason why Sri Ramakrishna emphasized it, not only in what he said, but also in his own practical application of his religious practice and attitudes. Why should he see God as a mother? How did this come to us? If we think that Sri Ramakrishna was a special reflection of the full divinity, something we call avatar, that God that comes to us from time to time. What's the difference between that and any other entity? It may be making the same comparison as what is the difference between food as an effect at either end, as fed in, as the effect of or product of manufacturing, assembling all kinds of ingredients, maybe processing them, suitable for digestion, and the end product that leaves the body. Well, it's a significant difference because you won't confuse each one. You won't confuse a stool as something that you need to eat. So it's quite evident that there's a difference in quality, difference in manifestation, but the same underlying entity is there. That's the point. What is Prakriti made from? What is this Maya made from? It's made from three essential components that have the effect of hiding the truth, projecting the truth and revealing it. If you want to dismiss Maya, you're dismissing the revealing factor. What we need to do is we need to promote the revealing factor. It has a neutralizing effect on these other things. We use this as our major tool. So I'm inspired this week to talk a little bit more about the season, which might be strange to you. But the season that we're talking about is a great elaboration on the overall universal wish and inner urge to worship. Since time immemorial, man has had this urge. In fact, the English word God is derived from the Germanic hud, G-U-D, which in turn comes from Sanskrit, because English, Germanic, and so on are all Indo-European languages, and it ultimately gets derived from Huta, one worthy of offering to, making an offering to. At some stage, humanity must have felt there's something bigger than me, something greater than me, something more controlling than me, something that mobilizes things, something that is universal, something that obviously is regulatory, controls seasons, welfare, but something also which comes out as nature itself. And what we mean by nature, the whole of our observable objective existence, and all those things we cannot observe because we don't have the instrumentation to observe it. We only have a limited instrumentation. We have the 5 sense organs, 5 faculties that bring information in, and then we have a way of relating to that. So we have 5 faculties to express a reaction. We have 10 organs then related to another 5 objects in the world, and that's it. But is there more? Well, because these are not standard organs, there must be more. We will see things in a certain human way with certain standard instrumentation, and therefore certain general interpretations. But some other creature with some other kind of sense will have a different view. Imagine going past a shop and you look in the window and there are something like 10 TVs all showing the same picture. If you're lucky, it'll show the picture of you walking past. And you take a second look. Oh, I see. And then you catch it again. 10 of you walking past. Were there 10 of you? They're like 10 eyes. Now imagine a fly. How many eyes a fly has, or how many segments of pictures it has in one eye. See? So as soon as you go like this, the fly is gone. It sees you straight away. It's designed like that. Now imagine a shark. Sri Krishna says, seeking superlatives of what we view in nature, how all the fish are in the shark. When we investigate it scientifically, we'll see the level of detection that a shark has at a distance. It knows immediately. Its skin is sensitive to every electrical impulse in the water. It's such a wonderful technological machine. See how it moves in the water? See how it's designed, as it were. No wonder people say this is all designed. And people are combating the idea, central idea of a design, because it implies there's a designer, but surely something like that would be there. Not necessarily in a standard way that we think of it, which provides its own limitation, but certainly some central expression of an intelligence coming out, formulating and forming all the things that we understand and see. And the more we study the details of nature, the species of nature, and how they act and react, the more we understand the beauty about nature, the intricacy and complexity and response of nature. How does it know how to do that? The atheistic position, materialistic position would be, it must be something random. Somehow it all cobbled together randomly. And so because of that, we can't see any purpose in it. Live your life and let it be. But then, of course, you can't explain man's inherent urge toward the golden rule. Do unto others as they would have done do unto you. Some idea of morals and ethics. Why should we have it? Why should we not be utilitarians? There was a materialistic sect in India called Charvaka. The Charvakas had this idea, and they were not only allowed but promoted because they were philosophers. If you were able to have some idea and to propagate it with proper reasoning and make a conviction everywhere you go, it's legitimate philosophy. We won't suppress a thing, promote it as a freedom of speech, freedom of ideas. In some other country, it might have been suppressed, but in India, it was never suppressed. But you can combat it through dialectics. So what is scripture? Nonsense. What is the afterlife? No afterlife. What is God? Nonsense. The priests, we laugh at them. All of these ideas came out. This is the only thing is what you see. So, but where's the need then for ethics? We come to the conclusion there's no need for it. So you should live your life as what we call a consequentialist. You'll only do something if it affects you favorably, if the consequences of what you do is in your favor. But of course, it leaves out the idea that there are hidden consequences which you don't know about. You do something. If you have a holistic view of the entire universe, you'll understand it comes back to you. But if you have a separation or a sense of separation, then you're, with a short-term vision, only do some action. And if it benefits you personally, it's good enough. So you'll see one lesson. The more you emphasize the individuality of something, the more you emphasize the part aspect of yourself and nature, the further from the truth you are. Because the truth comes in a totality. And since we're not able to see totality with the normal senses and interpret it through a single mind, then we can't see everything. Some extra faculties have to be there. Now, some of these faculties are within us. In fact, the yogis would say, all these faculties are within us. If we can control, if a cow can control a single ear and we can't, is a cow more clever than ourselves? If a horse can move one ear and then the other ear alternatively, and we haven't got that, can we do it? Can we control every muscle of the body? So this is a question that Vivekananda brings up, and he says, yes, everybody, every single part of the body can be consciously brought under control if it serves us. We can do anything we like. Only one restriction. What is that? As long as it's in tune with the harmonious cosmic law. Theoretically, with the power of the mind, we can exchange the positions of sun and moon. Is it likely, or is it absolutely possible? No, it's not, because it's not designed like that. Imagine the mayhem. Supposing I look in the mirror and see my nose is like this. I wish it were on the other side. It won't happen. So nose on the position at the back of the head, it seems everything has to swap around and change, and that's not how it was designed. It won't function well. So it may look better, I don't know. I'm tired of this nose. They say my nose is so long and big and ugly. I was told when I went to the place in Navan, where I was looking for a retreat center, people who had lived a long time in the Orient, in China, Japan, and so on and so forth. And they made this remark. Typically, we tend to think that people from the Far East, we characterize them by the slant of their eyes. How do they characterize people from Western Europe? By their noses. They call them big noses. See? So a big nose. Nobody thinks of it. Those who have those noses don't think about that. So if I don't like that nose, if I don't like that arrangement, put it somewhere else. No, it won't work like that. Nor should it. So there are some limitations. But why should we take our energy and look for something deep out of a sense of love, sense of gratitude, a sense of adoration, some inner urge to say thank you? Well, we don't have to go far for it. Some entity digests your food. That we know. Standard question to young children is, who digests your food? I said some of this on Sunday. Who digests your food? They say, I do. I see. They don't understand that the sense of I only developed after about a year. But who digested your food then? You don't consciously go and digest your food. These are all unconscious activities. Some loving entity does it. Some loving entity does all the things that we don't know of or see. While we sleep, that entity remains awake, digesting our food, giving us pocket money for useless thinking for the following day. It's probably solving some psychological hidden issues in the unconscious mind. Because, of course, what is dream? Dream is sleep plus memory. When you combine the two, we call this dream. Does this all the time. And according to wonderful, wonderful language that we find in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, some passages are there, is described as something like a swan that floats from one area to the other, floats into a waking state, then drifts into a dream state, and drifts into a dreamless sleep state, like that, continuous floating, wide awake. Just like the sun seems to float across the sky. The ancient people had this idea. There's some entity in a chariot that floats across the sky. And then when we're not looking, floats back again and comes back until people realize it must have gone all the way around. But you see, this is a geocentric position. But sooner or later we realize, no, the heliocentric position is better. In expressing this idea of love, we are really extending this inherent idea or inherent feeling that there should be some morality and ethics that is deeper than just laws, deeper and more profound than mere consequentialism or utilitarianism. That's not just done for social good, but done because there's some feeling that gets mobilized. And we find the same feelings arise when we deal with human compassion, when we deal with sympathy, when we deal with empathy, a number of things that evoke a human emotional response. But how connected are we with the object when that happens? And we can view it in the same way in spiritual life. How deeply and profoundly are we connected with the object of worship? And if we are not deeply connected enough, because we are distracted by so many things, most religions give us the opportunity from time to time throughout a year, by virtue of ceremonies, by virtue of seasonal opportunities on our religious calendar, celebrating the life of somebody or celebrating some event. What's more natural than to take the natural seasons that we have and be thankful for these agricultural seasons? In Africa, or where I come from, we don't have that distinction of seasons. You've been to Zimbabwe there? Mm-hmm. There are two seasons, basically. In fact, in some areas, these seasons, because in the low veld it's very, very hot. Those two seasons are called summer and hell. Mm-hmm. But in other areas, there's no distinction. There's no change of leaves in the autumn. There's no flowering of life in the spring. In fact, we only know two seasons in Zimbabwe, dry season and wet season, rainy season and dry season. By October, it gets so intolerably hot and everything is dry. The grass is yellow. We've experienced this here in Ireland when we had a drought in the summer And people remarked, this is a land of greenery, but where we look, everywhere we find the grass is yellow and dying. So it was an experience like that. But lo and behold, in October, the first rains come, people go and dance and sing in the rain, hence the song Singing in the Rain, and they enjoy everything that is there associated with it. It's a warm climate, they can do it. They won't catch a cold or anything. The joy of it, the thankfulness of it, the relief of it is amazing. But now imagine now in this country where we have the opportunity of distinctly seeing the beauty of each season. So we find that in autumn, we find is particularly relevant in tropical climes, India, for example, where we see a marked difference because it's the end of the monsoons. Things are incredibly hot, things start cooling down a little bit. And we see this color change. In North America, we can also find it, change of leaves, color of the leaves here. We find not quite winter, not quite summer. But the agricultural implication of it is there. It's time to take stock, do some harvesting, those kinds of things. Certain winter crops we can start putting in, all of those things. And so very often these events throughout the year that become religious in nature are extensions of agriculture or an agricultural season or a social agricultural event. But it's not the agricultural event per se. It's the sense of joyful feeling about it, thankfulness about it, a sense of gratitude. Thank you for this. Thank you for this harvest. Thank you for this bounty. Thank you for this abundance. And it's that as element of thankfulness, as expressed, which we call worship. Why should we worship? Is the same question as why should we feel thankful? And if we don't feel thankful, it means we haven't looked at it closely. So earlier I was with somebody, we looked out of the window. I said, come and see this. What did that person see? Initially, not much, until things were pointed out. Can you see there's a half moon there? Can you see the moon is waxing? You see it standing alone. Then later, you see how it's covered by orange clouds. Not that the clouds are orange, but the orange tint came from the setting sun. Did you see all that? Did that evoke a feeling in you? A natural feeling, a kind of synthesis, a kind of feeling of oneness with nature, a kind of empathy with an inner beauty, a kind of syncretism there, a synchronicity with nature, with the beauty. Did it evoke the inner beauty in you? Where does it all come from? Did these thoughts lead you to the profoundest thoughts of the divine? Did you now bring that in with philosophy, which brings out logical principles, as well as it brings out the empirical experience of those who went before you and stated, this is it, in Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, Brahmasmi, all of these Mahavakyas that indicate this oneness of existence and indicate what the source of that is. Did that lead you to a meditative state? Could you at that moment have sat down and meditated in the most profound way? Meditation, would that have been difficult? So everything in life, if we have an eye to see, can lead us to the most profound revelation. Sri Ramakrishna, seeing a foreign boy, they were attending an event where a balloon was being launched, standing against a tree. The Lord Krishna is there. See the flute. Somebody can say it's your imagination. Yes, let it be. This whole world is your imagination. Use it. Where is imagination coming from? It's coming from Mahamaya. It's coming from this great, great mother, Maya, that has this capacity, as I say, has the capacity through the operation of these three evolutionary guna forces to hide, to project, but also to reveal. Sri Krishna's examples, it takes a thorn to remove a thorn, and so on. So we use the wave of sattva, which is also part of Maya. We don't dismiss it. So the problem, I suppose, with some people misunderstand these various philosophical standpoints is not to see the relevance, even within that framework of worship. Pointing out to people that even when Shankaracharya established his 3 mat pitas, his four monastic areas in the 4 corners of India, when you go there, you'll find the worship is only completed at midday, starting from early morning. What's the necessity? Are these not non-dualistic schools of thought? Yes. But that doesn't remove the fact that we have to rally the emotions round, rally the imagination round, be more creative than the imaginary world that impinges on us and creates doubts and fears and temptations. Now, even in these doubts and fears and temptations, we have to understand that all of that is the mother too. That removes any element within religion of guilt, sin, all these things. So this Durga Puja has so many events associated with it. So I'll mention just a few. First of all, to celebrate in the autumn season, this mother's love is very ancient. And we find that mother worship is the only surviving thing, but not just mother's worship. It's not just seeing God in the form of a mother, but it's seeing that motherly form as energy. And the whole of the universe is pulsing energy. There's nothing else in the universe except energy. What we are looking at is energy, photons. What we feel on the skin is energy. What we call thought is energy. What is energy? Something that mobilizes something. And it is the final substratum of all the substance of the universe, material substance of the universe. This is according to our modern science, not so modern really, because it goes back to 1905, when Albert Einstein put jointly with his wife in the appendix of special relativity of 1905 that E equals mc squared. This is the most well-known, probably the most well-known equation in the world. Some people have it on their t-shirts, E equals mc squared. Whether they know what it's about or not, that's something different. You ask anybody, have you heard of this equation, E equals mc squared? Oh yeah, that we've heard of it. The purport of it is that everything gets resolved to energy. Energy is more subtle than something that has mass. Whatever makes something heavy is actually just energy. Put more energy, it becomes heavier. Less energy, it becomes lighter. And energy is the same everywhere. If it's the same everywhere, that is, the sum total is the same. It can neither be created nor destroyed. It indicates some finite boundary somewhere. Wherever you define something, the implication is something goes beyond it. So you can draw an invisible border around it. What's beyond that border? That's an absolute. How the absolute somehow becomes the relative is a key question. Until you remove the language or rephrase the language, becomes is not becoming. It's not a becoming word. But what is it? What happens? Some kind of appearance. And how does that appearance come about? Through the magic of hiding and projecting. Through that same magic, revealing is necessary, and it requires divine grace. We worship because we want to tap into divine grace. The more profoundly you worship, the deeper you worship, the more you tap in, the deeper you tap in. And every time you tap in, it flows. Like tapping for honey. You see, primitive people even today will see, okay, I see in a cave or something like that, big nest, a lot of activity, hive of activity, many, many bees going around. Then you're seeing, you might get somebody who has the right technique to do it, to lower you from the top of the cave, lower you down, and maybe use some smoke to chase the bees away, something like that. And you tap, literally you prod, and the honey comes out in a liquid way, or chunks of the honeycomb come down, but within it is liquid. So tapping the honey of divine bliss and divine love is all that spirituality is. And the devotee wants to worship because it's the devotee that wants the sweetness of the honey. Oh Lord, don't make me, oh Mother, don't make me a dry ascetic, praise Ram Krishna. So I want that sweetness. But by the same token, I have that inner knowledge that can put that aside, that can enter into the very depths of the ocean and remain there until somebody gives a suggestion and maybe repeats some mantra in my ear and I come back. Something like that. So we see that worship is a necessary component for most people to rally their emotions and direct them in a central way to the object of their worship. And the more imaginative and creative you make, the better. So Durga Puja has so many stories around it. Each day is a story. And with each story, and the central theme of the story is summarized beautifully in this text, Devi Mahatmyam, otherwise called Chandi. And it comes in 3 sections. So the first section is dedicated to what's called Mahakali. Mahakali, that is dedicated to the mother in potentiality where tamas rules. Not going anywhere, just a kind of sleep, as the name suggests, but naturally has projected something anyhow previously, and that is tremendous difficulty. Traditionally, the difficulties only arise between 2 factions, those who have and those who want. And generally, it's the asuras, that is the demons, fighting the devas. And the devas you can interpret in many different ways. But what is our interpretation as Vedantists? We don't want to interpret it as our own self. What is relevant out is relevant in. What is relevant in the greater scheme of things is relevant in the microcosmic version of things. So we can say that while we are sleeping, some things are happening. That is, while we're not really paying attention, when we vacate the mind, when we don't pay much attention to it, other forces at work in the unconscious mind. Friends from childhood that may have been useful to us at that point, but are no longer useful. Jealousy, pride. You go around the entire enneagram, you'll catch it. Jealousy, pride, a sense of being right, a sense of, or an absence of feeling worthwhile, and therefore an attempt to feel worthwhile, an attempt to be independent to the point of success and giving up when that's no longer the horizon. You can go all the way around and find these various elements are there. A tug of war between virtue and vice going on. And it's not that there's an intentional war. It's just that we never took control of anything. And these habitual entities come up and surface. And it's as if somebody walks into your house, an old friend walks into your house, opens the cupboards, steals all the jam, leaves the place in a mess, and then walks out. Then another friend walks in. splashes everything, a whole lot of things everywhere, leaves the place and walks out. By the time you wake up, you think, oh my goodness, see what happened. Next time I'll be more alert. The next time you're more alert, but then you forget. So these friends come in, they play their havoc, and start complaining when you close the door. Come in. You don't have to steal jam. Here's some jam. Thank you so much. Here's the door again. Come if you want. Stay if you can. Have a cup of tea. Go if you must. Then what? Make a telephone call. Bring in new friends. Friends that are to your advantage. One friend might be called truth. One goodness. One harmony. One peace. One generosity. Love. Like that, one by one. Bring them in. Come, let's have a tea party. These are strange friends, so it might be a Mad Hatter's tea party in the beginning. You might not be used to these friends. But the more these friends become your habitual house guests, the more the household golden line gets enriched. These friends are equivalent to many weapons. All these virtues are weapons. And so the central theme, which is the next part of this Chandi, will be assembling all these forces and dealing with a massive, massive demon, Mahishasura, Ashura demon, great demon, in the form of a buffalo that has the capacity to change its form, very aggressive, because animal nature is very aggressive, uncontrolled. Now imagine, instead of friends coming into your house and taking jam and spray glass all over the floor and all that, imagine a buffalo coming in, shaking itself all over your house, and it doesn't want to leave. So what will you do? And so we find, the story goes, that all these deities, that is, all these different faculties in the mind, make a complaint. Come on, come on, come on. It is necessary to wake up the sleeping mother, who is the whole energy of the universe. Come, come, come. Let us mobilize your energy. Let us assemble every single weapon you can think of. All the forces combined. And that is why the mother appears in 7 different forms, or 7 different forms represent 7 different varieties of weapons. Everything that the universe has. Why? How? Because all those potentiality is in you. The weapons are already in you. They're already inserted there. They were given to you. You didn't know it. You can stand up, you can arise, awake. Vivekananda's interpretation of Kathapanishad, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapyan, Varan, Bodhata, arise, awake. Don't stop until this goal is reached. With a great deal of determination, with a great deal of strength, with concentration, with all the faculties at your disposal. You then start taking charge. So all of these things were combated fairly easily in some cases. The final killing of that demon will be equivalent to tomorrow. That is why tomorrow is seen to be a very important part of the Durga Puja. So the final thing is there. But then it doesn't stop there, because these things come up again. Some demons come up again and cause some havoc again. And in this case, various forms are necessary to deal with it. And what's the story? You can kill the vast majority, but you still have to watch out. Now, one of these is we can say what its name is, but I'd rather illustrate it in English terminology, that it is a demon who, if you kill it, the blood there is there, and from that blood another being comes, continuously comes. Rakta bija. If you have some tendency within you and you try and stamp it out, it will resurface. You've got to take it up, root and all. The very seed has got to be destroyed. This is the origin of the Mother Kali in the mythology story, that it is necessary to have that entity that vigorously and with a frenzy licks the blood. There's the meaning of it. Licks the blood up so that the seed of it cannot regrow. Our tendency is such that whenever a tendency is there, if we don't watch it, if we don't observe it, if we let things slide, if we don't practice a discipline that enables a steady practice, then what will happen is that it'll grow again. It's like if you say, let me vigorously do a spring clean in a house, and then you leave it for a year. What's the point? You have to clean it once a day, once a week, and so on. Different things at certain times you have to do it. You can't just allow it. You can tell what's the difference between a bachelor and a married man. Well, a bachelor has all the dishes in the sink for about 6 months. A married man, no, it's all dealt with. Then you ask, why is it like that? Laziness. Yeah. Laziness. I'll do it tomorrow. Which tomorrow? Next year? So like that, you see. So, of course, it's not true of every bachelor. There are some bachelors who are more diligent than that, probably. So we have to attend to the condition of the mind. We have to be watchful of it. And we have to deal with situations when they arise, as they arise, not let them linger, not let them fester. Take these friends, ask them, please come in, nice and politely. Come if you like, stay if you can. Go, you must, but I have new friends. And the new friends can come at every opportunity, where opportunity knocks. And opportunity knocks for us every second. But opportunity knocks only if we're aware of it. I was going through some devotees today. They were asking, what do we do on a retreat? So I went through the retreat program. I found a beautiful place for a retreat, by the way, not so far from here. Anyhow, so I went through the program with them, and they were saying how many areas there were for silence. What happens there? You walk, or you have your own leisure time. You do what you want, but you may be given certain homework to do between talks, because the talks will wind up in some practical thing that you should be doing. One of them, for example, would be going out into wherever you want, walking in the woods. And the place I have in mind is in Navratri. There's a forest trail you can work on, about 20 minutes walk. If you like, you can short walk down to the river Boyne and a short walk to its tributary. So all of that is there. Beautiful. From there, you can see the hill of Tara. You can walk there if you like, but that might take you a bit longer. In any event, what do we do? If you have the leisure to do that, that is, nothing else to do, you can just drink in the beauty. What do you do on holiday? I know what some people do, they go shopping, so I'm told. Or they go sightseeing, that's okay. One is to cater for desires. The other one is to cater for curiosity. They may go to a museum, something like that. Others just want to soak up the atmosphere and have nothing on their agenda, just have free time for appreciation. That's it. Relax, let go. But in that moment, don't lapse into a kind of sleep, but take that time for observation, appreciation, thankfulness. There are things that are there that are available to you in every waking moment, inside the body and outside. These are opportunities. In fact, every event is an opportunity for worship. Now, most of those events involve people. What is our highest worship, therefore? Worship of the Lord of the universe, Mother of the universe, any gender you want, any form you want, there in human form. That's a wonderful worship. So the highest form of worship really involves karma yoga. Karma yoga involves tremendous reorientation of activity, intention, motivation, so that whatever action you do is a worship. Work is worship. You consider it like that. This is not just periodic worship that may involve asking something for yourself. No problem with it. Only you're missing the main function and purpose of life. And that's okay. If you then understand that, then you'll orientate yourself toward that more. Ask for pure devotion. Ask for discernment. Ask for inner wisdom. Ask for any of those things. Ask for a yearning heart. These are wonderful treasures. But if you are stuck, you ask for that also. That's why we're happy to put the divine in the role of a parent, if we want, the owner of the entire universe. Can they not provide us with a job or this or that? Of course they can do it. Ask and then leave it. You'll find all the forces under divine control get mobilized and come to you. And the instrument for that is thought. When will this job come? Well, did you mobilize the thing I gave you? What was that? Well, thought. Did you not mobilize thought? Did you not, with faith, having asked, say thanks immediately afterwards? I think I told you before a wonderful real story. We had Enneagram in Zimbabwe over the normal 2 weekends. On the first weekend, it was fine, and normal 2-week gap. Second weekend, how was your 2 weeks? The one person who happened to be a very dominant character, you can understand what personality type they were, said, I'm disgusted. Why? Because in Johannesburg, there's a period of drought, everybody desperate for rain. And they had a big prayer meeting in a huge stadium. At least 7,000 people there. Wonderful sight. And they're all praying for rain. I said, seems good to me. He says, no. It was appalling. What's so bad? Do you know, Swami? Not one person brought an umbrella. Not one person. I thought he was correct. See? Well, if you had faith, then why would you bring an umbrella? So involved in this is a sense of thankfulness, which is also a thought movement already accomplished. Something in the past. It's already done. Thank you. Thanks for having done it already. I leave the time scale to you. I leave it. Of course, we have to mobilize some other things too. Lord, may I win the lotto, says the religious person. The story goes, the Jewish person. Please, Lord, may I win the lotto next week. My business is finished. My family is destitute. May I win the lotto? Next week passes. The lotto comes, the lotto goes. Lord, about the lotto, I don't believe in you anymore. The clouds roll forward and a voice booms out, hire me. At least buy a lotto ticket. So we have to at least make some movement, some practical movement is ours. We have that equipment to do it. So that's the point. So worshiping God in man is the highest form, really, because the others may be occasional, the others may be self-orientated. But perpetual thankfulness is worship, and seeing God in all beings, seeing the self in all beings and all beings in the self. This is the highest form of worship.
Sorry, when you said the others, what did you mean by others?
No, ask your question.
When you said others, you said the highest form of worship is in other human beings.
Worshipping God in others.
In others, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's better than, you said there was other means of worshipping God.
Well, such as sitting down, offering flowers. This is also good. Mm-hmm. But the highest worship is, why don't you put some food in front of a poor person? Why don't you give shelter? Why don't you do something like that? So where there's a big social need, and you'll find that everywhere, you won't have to go far. Why should you not make that your worship? Why should you see God in a temple made of bricks and mortar and not see it in one made of flesh and blood? The reason is, I saw God there, but I never saw God there. When you see God everywhere, in every being, the spontaneous feeling arises, let me worship. So don't think that worship is confined to a ritualistic worship only. And this is the purport of what we've been studying here in the Bhagavad Gita, which we won't have time to go into today, but this is the whole purport of Bhagavad Gita, is renouncing the fruits of one's actions. Sri Ramakrishna said, what is the whole purport of the Gita? By saying it quickly, it reverses Gita, 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 Tyagi, 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 which means Tyaga, means renunciation. So if you get the opportunity to go into one of the 2 Durga Pujas that are going on in Dublin at some point, and you understand more of the meaning and do some more research on that, don't do it if it's not meaningful, obviously. Then it's a beautiful opportunity to take advantage of something that is going on. Taking advantage of the opportunity for worship at any given moment is a good thing. That's why coming here is an opportunity that people don't understand, very often don't understand. Going on pilgrimage is an opportunity. But an unexpected encounter with somebody is an opportunity. A chance meeting with somebody. If you see the opportunity element in it, then you'll see it's always an opportunity for renewal and worship. Om Shanti, 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 Shanti.